Today we're talking about multitasking and pros and cons of multitasking, when to multitask, why do people multitask, how it doesn't work, all of these things and more, and yet how easy people think it is to multitask.
We're going to bring some interesting insights in it because Linda has kind of a bullet point presentation and I've got my own rather arrogant and Scottish viewpoint on multitasking.
Your arrogant Scottish viewpoint does rear its ugly head every now and again.
Welcome to Simple Sense, where the only thing I'm focused on right now is recording this podcast. But I had to interrupt Linda Ray, who is now multitasking while we're recording.
I was reviewing the script to make sure we stay on point and stay focused on recording this podcast.
Hey, since we're sitting here in the den, which is right across from my little library here, mind if I grab a book and just peruse that while we're working?
No.
But it's Frank Herbert's Dune. I can see it right there on the top shelf.
So let's get into it. First of all, the title of this is Myths, Madness, and Mistakes. I guess there is statistics or there's science that multitasking is a myth and that it is not real and we're not capable of multitasking. Do you agree or disagree?
I 100 million gazillion thousand quadrillion % agree that multitasking
that
is
number
actually
look like?
Not really possible.
It's not possible. So this is the challenge of whether or not we can really grasp the lack of ability of multitasking. And there's two different scenarios that I've caught myself very simply listening to the radio in the car while driving and then needing to follow the GPS and directions. I have to lower the music. I can't have the background of the music while I'm trying to follow the directions or make sure I'm going in the right direction.
Well, there's a reason why there are now laws on the books about distracted driving. Yeah. Essentially, what distracted driving means, you cannot distract yourself while driving, which is also to say you cannot multitask while driving. No, you can't put makeup on while you're driving. You can't really turn the radio stations, and you sure as hell cannot be texting your bestie in Vancouver about the latest science fiction movie while driving down a country road, which then takes you across the double solid line, and then you almost hit me head on, which happened twice in the last 2 weeks.
You never went to Vancouver.
No, I've never. I would love to go to Vancouver.
I was wondering, it's so
I guess
random.
our podcast is multitasking also. Now it's a bit of a travelogue. I would love to go to Vancouver. Vancouver. No, seriously, in the last 2 weeks, I've had 2 episodes here in our little town in Connecticut where people coming towards me have crossed over the solid line, and it is clear to me that the reason they did so is they were distracted for whatever reason. My opinion is they were probably texting while driving. But let's talk about your workflow.
No.
I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay, let me stay on one focused point instead of multi-pointing.
There you go. I'm seeing it in real time here. The other example to take note as a simple exercise of recognizing the inability to multitask is how many times are we watching a show or a movie and I've got my laptop and I'm like, what happened? And you're annoyed is all that you have to rewind.
Crazy. I will tell you, I've gotten so used to it. Our business really does take so much of our time that I'm okay with it now. I just literally have the remote in my hand, and the minute she says, wait, what did he say? I just hit the reverse button.
Yeah. Those are just a couple of examples of acknowledging that that was a multitask fail, and having that awareness does allow us to then catch ourselves so that we can get refocused and redirect our focus so that we can do the task at hand.
Focus is the key word.
Yeah.
When I was a manager at a mortgage company and I noticed people attempting to multitask, my whole thing was to say to them, listen, you got to focus on the task at hand and finish that and do it the best way possible, especially in a situation where you're dealing with financial documents or information that has to be dealt with in an accurate way. You can't focus on that level of accuracy if you are trying to respond to emails, receiving a text message from a client or something. You've got to set aside the time to complete one task.
You have to turn the alerts off and even maybe close down your email so that your brain doesn't get stimulated by the sounds and notifications, because that will prompt the distraction. But to your point of remaining focused or staying focused or not diverting your attention, this is where I think people try to accomplish various tasks and multitasking to accomplish said tasks. Instead of making a phone call and conquering the task, you send an email knowing, okay, well, then I won't have to deal with this until they respond, and then you move on to something else. I'm guilty of that for sure.
Oh, that's a whole other topic. I like that. That's not just distraction. That's delay, deferment, procrastination, refusal to stand up and face your fears and be courageous and jump into the task in hand, however difficult it is, and get it done with and get it over with.
We haven't done one on procrastination. It's my favorite time management strategy. How have we not done a podcast on procrastination?
All right. So you're
set up right now. We're multitasking.
Linda's literally multitasking. You sure I can't take down Frank Herbert's Dune? It's right next to my Tolkien books there on the shelf.
I know. You could just do that while I
pages in while
ramble
you're talking.
on. All right. We're talking at the same time.
Which is multi-talking.
Enter really cool sound effects right now.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate for focus. I don't care if it's a simple task or a complicated task. If you are not focused, you're not going to deliver what you think. You're trying to be more efficient and give yourself a better experience. You're actually making your life more complicated by multitasking.
I think multitasking is an excuse for permission to procrastinate.
Oh, I love that.
Thank
I think
you.
that's all it really is.
That's like everything all rolled up into one. You got the multitasking, you got the excuse making, which we just did a podcast on that last week, and the procrastination, which probably will have to be something, the podcast that we do next week, but all rolled into one.
Hey, Henry, why don't you have that report done yet? Oh, I'm still working on it, but I was also doing this thing at this time, and I had that email, and then so-and-so called, and then I had to deliver this package over to accounting. Doesn't that start to sound a lot like an excuse?
Yes. This echoes from last week.
Hi, Henry, what's going on? Here's the spreadsheet you asked me to finish. It's done. I'm on my way over to accounting to deliver this package.
Or if you are not attending to a task, but you have been put to the mat on why it's not done, the one thing to avoid excuse is just say, I'm sorry, I haven't gotten to it yet. I have not made the time to do it yet. I apologize. I will take care of that. And then you give a deadline for yourself. Because it's one thing, I don't have the time or I didn't make the time. Then you're at least having some sense of ownership as to it not being a priority. That's the other thing. Forget about the excuses and the multitasking to delay and the procrastination. It's just something that you're not finding to be a priority. But the problem is that if someone else is relying on you, or there are expectations from someone else, maybe a client or
if there are multiple people waiting on you.
Yeah. So I see what you did there. But that's where this may not be a priority for whatever the reasons, and that's something you'd have to look into too. So I guess there's a couple of homework assignments going on here.
Well, before we get to Wealth and HELLNESS segment, which sounds like you're multitasking to bring that one up, I have read multiple business-related articles that there are scientific studies that prove that the human brain, literally, it's not wired to do multitasking.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the wah-wah, Spoiler alert, as human beings, we try to defy the rules of science so that we can think we're being more efficient, but we're just delaying or procrastinating or making excuses.
So let's jump into today's Wealth and HELLNESS section, which is all about...
Do we have one?
Oh, it's coming out of my head. I've been multi-thinking while you were talking just a moment ago. Today's Wealth and HELLNESS section is all about focusing on profit and pleasure. You own your own small business so that you don't have to answer to someone and that you can earn a decent income and you can enjoy what you're doing. And everything we talk about in our Simple Sense podcast is focused on that, helping remind you of these things that get in the way of profit and pleasure. So here's my suggestion. Are you a multitasker? Okay, do two things. A little notebook, OneNote on your Microsoft computer, notes in your iPhone, wherever you got to write it down. Write it down on the back of your hand with a magic marker. Write down when you are multitasking and then see how long it takes you to complete those tasks, or ask yourself, did I actually complete these tasks that I set out to finish in a reasonable amount of time? And then the second part of my Wealth and HELLNESS suggestion is this: examine your time management, because in my opinion, multitasking is just a symptom of bad time.
Who has time for time management?
I do.
It was a joke.
I take a break every afternoon at 2:30 p.m. I'm like a Swiss watch.
Yeah, like clockwork.
That's called time management.
Anyway, also as a Wealth and HELLNESS time management challenge, schedule yourself for tasks where you give yourself 15 full minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it is that you're attending to that you would not attend to, or try to shortcut it or dissect it into various phases and stuff so that you can give yourself the permission of multitasking. Instead, schedule yourself, put it in the calendar of handling it in one chunk instead of chunking it up if that's possible. Or
It sounds a lot like time management, Linda.
I said it was in the realm.
In the realm?
In the realm.
This is in the realm of time management. It is Halloween time. I will suck your blood. Oh.
We did another podcast, which I can't even remember what it was, where basically schedule yourself and chunk down tasks depending on how overwhelming it is. This is the opposite of that. Instead of chunking it down, take care of as much of it as possible so that you can complete it. Stop looking at me like I'm rambling on.
Ramble on. Hey, she's Linda Ray and I'm Trevor, and we want to thank you for tuning in to Simple Sense for Small Business.
Mistakes we've made so you don't have to.
This is a lot like multitasking. It's multi-mistaking. Which is not to be confused with the 2 steaks I'm going to put on the barbecue in a few minutes.
See you next time.